participants are joining us right now. Welcome, everyone. For those of you that are joining us, we're going to give a few minutes for people to log in. And we're going to ask that if you have questions, that you post them in the Q&A section. For those of you that haven't had an opportunity to meet us, we're going to go ahead and go through some introductions, and we'll be responding to those questions kind of in a tag team style here, and making sure that we can get to all of the questions during this webinar. So this is a webinar format. That means that we're going to be taking questions posted in the Q&A and making sure that we can get to as many of them as possible. We're hoping that everyone had an opportunity to watch the video presentation that Mrs. Lewis and myself did with an overview of Churchill's IB program. So we have some questions that are popping up already. Let me just check with our panel. So Mrs. Manchester, are you able to see those questions that are popping up?
Yes, I can see them. Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. Well, we've got almost 60 people online with us, so welcome. Thank you for choosing to spend your Wednesday evening with us. I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself and our other panelists, and then we'll start answering some of the questions. And then also, Mrs. Manchester, if you would be able to kind of capture some of those answers, you can type the answers below each question, I believe.
Yes.
That way we can have it captured for others to see as well. So good evening, everybody. My name is Brent Givens. I am the principal at Winston Churchill Middle School. We are an international baccalaureate school, the only middle school in San Juan with that program. There are two other schools in our district that have the IB program: Thomas Kelly Elementary, Churchill Middle School, and Mira Loma High School. With us tonight are our two IB coordinators, Mrs. Lindsay Lewis and also Mrs. Kristen Manchester. With us also tonight is Mrs. Melanie Allen, and Mrs. Allen is the principal at Detterding Elementary, which is one of the Rapid Learner Program schools in San Juan. She is also the acting coordinator for the Advanced and Accelerated Programs Office, which handles the open enrollment process for Churchill and for the IB program. Also with us is Mrs. Cami Sliwa. She is Churchill's vice principal. So good evening. Thanks for joining us. Mrs. Manchester is going to be facilitating our chat room, our Q&A, and going through the questions. So we'll be sharing responsibilities in terms of answering your questions. So let's go ahead and start with the first question, Mrs. Manchester.
The first question is, what does the testing entail?
All right, so I'm going to defer to Mrs. Allen to start us off about the current testing process.
Hello. So currently we are, if you've passed stage 1, we're still determining whether or not people are eligible through stage 1. We had to wait for the testing through iReady to be done, and we're still collecting some of the report cards. So as soon as we get that done, we'll be notifying you whether you've moved on to stage 1 for that testing. Hopefully if you've already applied, you should have a testing date. If you don't have a testing date, please email accelerated@sanjuan.edu. Or you can call the district office and ask them for accelerated programs, and we'll get you scheduled. The test is a standards-based test, and it is given for the year prior standards. So if your child is currently in 5th grade and they are looking at the Churchill 6th grade IB program, the test is a comprehensive 4th grade standard test. And so if they're looking to get into 7th grade, and they're in 6th grade, they would be taking the 5th grade test. That way it's fair. They've already had instruction in all of those standards. It is a mix of multiple choice, short answer, and some of that does get graded on a rubric. It's all done on computer. what were the other questions that we normally get on that? There's a break in between the two tests. And we're still trying to find, because of COVID and spacing limits, we are still trying to determine exactly where the test will be held. We have another meeting on Friday to look at spaces in the district, and we will get that out to you as soon as possible.
Thank you, Mrs. Allen. Yeah, so we are still in an environment where we are having to adjust and pivot from the old ways that we were doing it pre-COVID. So continues to be a challenge, but we're trying to get back into live environments where we can have students come in and take the test online, but on a district facility. All right, thank you. So next question.
The video shared with parents earlier mentioned about pathway to math. The criteria was not stated. Can you please clarify?
Yeah, so we have really two acceleration options at Churchill, and I don't know if this is specifically what the question is about. So we have a default math pathway, which is the traditional grade level math courses. So Math 6, Math 7, and Math 8. The first acceleration option is where students would be in Math 6 as a 6th grader, and then they would accelerate as a 7th grader. They would be taking the accelerated Math 7 as a 7th grader. Accelerated Math 7 is really the 7th grade math and the 8th grade math combined in 1 year. So it's a very fast-paced curriculum, but that is how they then move on to IM1, which is integrated math 1 as an 8th grader. IM1 is a 9th grade or freshman level math course. So the second acceleration option is a bit faster in terms of acceleration. That's where a 6th grader is going to take accelerated Math 7, again, combines Math 7 and Math 8 in 1 year, allowing them to take IM1 as a 7th grader and then IM2 as an 8th grader. Churchill is the only middle school in the district that offers IM2, which would then allow students to be placed in IM3, which is a junior level math course as a freshman in high school. So the way that we make that determination is we do provide a math standards assessment, and we use that assessment as one data point. We use iReady test scores or CASP test scores, which again, we haven't had CASP test scores for 2 years now. And we also use report cards and other data points to help make those placements. So again, it's based on the assessment, the standards assessment. It's also based on other pieces of data that are provided to us on what's called an articulation form, which means when a student is coming to us, if they are from within San Juan district, we'll have their testing data, academic marks, et cetera. If they're coming from outside of the district, we would often ask for those report cards, testing information, et cetera. So hopefully that kind of clears it up a bit.
Mr. Gibbons, can you repeat? I'm sorry. So the first option is in 6th grade, they would take Math 6 Excel.
So the grade level option, the default math pathway is Math 6, Math 7, Math 8.
Accelerated option.
The acceleration is Math 6 as a 6th grader. Then they would take the accelerated Math 7 as a 7th grader. Again, 2 years of math basically in 1 year. So it's a very quick acceleration, and then integrated Math 1 as an 8th grader or IM1.
And when the second option is 6th graders take accelerated
Math 7 as a 6th grader, then they take IM1 as a 7th grader and IM2 as an 8th grader.
Yeah, and once families make their decision on coming to Churchill in the spring, when we do articulation, when we're signing up for classes, we'll give a lot more information about the math pathways then. Essentially, students are going to let us know with that form that they want an accelerated math pathway. Then we look to find the best course through all of the means that Mr. Gibbons just explained. So more information will definitely be coming out in April with how all of that goes for each student.
Right. All right, next question.
Can you tell us more about the tour dates and times?
Yeah, so this is coming together kind of on the fly. We really did not know what our tours would look like this year, given the state of the COVID and mask policies, et cetera. So following district protocol, we are going to be hosting a modified tour, different than what we've ever done. It's going to be an outside tour only. The tours are going to last only about 20 minutes at the most. We're going to be having a sign up genius where families can come online. They can sign up for a date and a time. We're hosting these next Wednesday and Thursday, November 3rd and 4th. We have time slots that are going to be posted basically between 8:30 and 11 and between 12:30 and 1 on both days. We need time for our students to have their 2 lunch periods. That is a very busy time in the quad, not a good environment for outside tours, not a good environment for students to be able to hear. So during the instructional day, 8:30 to 11, and then 12:30 to 1:30. Again, 15 to 20 minute tours. We have a number of stations where students will be able to kind of get different pieces of information about Churchill. They'll get a feel for the campus, at least outside. We'll walk them through one short hallway to the back of campus where they can see our F wing, which is a set of classrooms in the back that has our Chinese classroom, 2 of our English and history classrooms, and 2 of our math classrooms. But again, students will be able to see kind of the lay of the land and get to hear about some of our programs, meet some of our staff. We will have our leadership students facilitating some of those tours so that those students have actual students that they can talk to and ask questions about. So that's kind of the design of the program. We really wanted kids to come on campus, so we opted not to do a virtual tour, but to have the best type outdoor tour that we can. So we're not going in the hallways, we're not going in the classrooms, because at this time that's not part of our district safety plan. All right, next question.
I see the advanced math pathway for the Diplomat is up to IM1. If my incoming 6th grader is currently doing IM2 in Sutter Middle School, will he be evaluated to go to IM3?
No, so we don't offer IM3. That's not part of our program. It's not part of our pathway. We celebrate the fact that a student has accelerated that quickly, but as a public school, we really don't have that level of flexibility. So IM2 is the highest that we go. So if a student has already completed IM2, we would sit down with the family and talk about what that looks like for us. But again, we don't offer IM3. The possibility of going to a high school or taking an online course is something that we would have to discuss with Mrs. Allen and our teaching and learning office, because again, we are not a private school, we are not an online school, and the programs that we offer are static, which means that we don't have another option. So that's one of the challenges that families have to consider when they're looking at our school is, if we have courses that meet your needs, we will put students in them. Another example of an option that we don't have is, like, for instance, we don't have a guitar class. If your student is a guitar player, we don't have a specific strings class for that student. We have students that play a variety of instruments, and our band teacher, Mrs. Takanikos, has a lot of flexibility in finding how to use them in a jazz band or in the advanced band, but we don't have a whole guitar class just dedicated to that. So, and sometimes for families, that's really important, and we recognize that. So that's why it's important during this open enrollment period to really consider what the next step is for your student.
Okay. I understand that the academic teams require a tryout. What percentage of students who try out get to be on a team? Are students limited to one team? Also, you listed Geography B on your web presentation, but National Geography has discontinued the GOB. Do you run your own independent GOB? Thank you.
Do you want me to speak to this?
Yeah, go ahead, please, Mrs. Lewis.
All right, a couple of things. It's really hard to give you a percentage of students that try out for many of our academic teams that make it. It really depends on the year, how many students are interested in each particular team. Sometimes we're able to run teams like Science Olympiad with 30 students. Other times they have up to 60 students. It just depends on what the competitions are looking like that year, the teachers that are running the particular teams, what they're able to handle. I coach the History Day team. My team does not have tryouts. Some years I have 20 students participating, and other years I have 60. Our Science Bowl and our Quiz Bowl teams, they also start out with very large numbers, and as they go through their competitions, the particular coach for that team, Mr. Hansen, will then take 4 or 8 students to a higher level competition. But that's after months of practicing and students getting to participate on campus. So unfortunately, I can't give a straight percentage. I do also want to thank you for bringing to our attention about the Geography B. I do not run the Geography B, and unfortunately, the teacher that has done that for us in the past, we didn't hear that it was no longer happening. So unfortunately, no, if that has been discontinued, we do not run a special Geography B at Churchill. And again, thank you for bringing that to our attention. I think that's pretty good. If there's any other team questions, you guys can add them to the Q&A. Oh, how many teams can they be on? That was the other question. That also is really dependent on the grade level of the student and what team they're competing in or for. So History Day is a one-day competition where we practice once a week. If you can come to my Wednesday practice and also go to a Quiz Bowl practice on Monday, we allow that to happen. If you are participating on, say, the debate team, they practice every single Wednesday. They have many competitions. They do not allow students to be on debate and another academic team. And then speech has less competitions. They practice every so many Wednesdays. And so it's the same thing where sometimes students can get that allowance to go to more than one team, but it just depends on which team that they're participating in. The coaches are really good with working with students. We also try to really support, especially 6th graders, from not taking on too many additional academic teams because they're already in a really rigorous traditional school day. So I hope that answered that.
All right. Could a 6th grader take regular 7th grade math and then in 7th grade take 8th grade math and then IM1 in 8th grade if they have been in the RL program and already have some 6th grade math instruction?
So that's not a current model that we follow, and we would I would normally default to our math department chair, who could kind of go into a little bit more depth about that, and with a math mindset about why that's not the pathway that we follow. But when we are looking at the Rapid Learner program and students that have been in 5th grade and taken a 6th grade math level, basically, the acceleration pathway is to really get them ready for the high school level math. And so the accelerated math 7 is the option that we have right now. Again, getting them to get those math 8 standards as a 6th grader or as a 7th grader so that they can be ready for IM1. So I'm not going to be able to speak to the level of detail that our math department would. Our math department chair is Dina Cower. Again, she couldn't be with us tonight, but we can certainly follow up and kind of give a deeper dive into the philosophy behind that. But that's never been a model that Churchill has used.
Okay, next question. How do I update my email address with you?
Sure. So the email address, if you're a current San Juan family, you should be able to go into the San Juan portal, the parent portal, and update your email address. If you're not currently in the San Juan district, but need to get email information, I don't know, Mrs. Allen, I don't know if you have a recommendation. The parent portal is really the first line that I know in terms of updating information. We can certainly check for you if you want to call Churchill's front office. We have 3 clerks that are in the front office that are really helpful. The best way to email us is to email us at Churchill front office. Let me give you the correct email before I say it incorrectly so that we can type it in the response. So it's Churchill front office at sanjuan.edu. Again, Churchill front office at sanjuan.edu. We can look you up in the San Juan database, find out what email address is listed, and then help point you in the right direction to update that.
And if it's an email address that you used on your application and you want to update that, you can email accelerated@sanjuan.edu, or you can call our accelerated office.
Perfect, thank you. I see the next one there, Mrs. Manchester. Is that the extracurriculars?
Yes, sorry, I'm still typing.
That's okay. I'll let you type and I'll go ahead and start answering this. So we have a pretty wide range of extracurriculars. The academic teams that were just mentioned and that are also listed in our presentation, Science Olympiad, Science Bowl, Quiz Bowl, Speech and Debate, Math Team. We have clubs that are on campus. We have History Day Club. We have Art Club. We have the Pride Pack, which supports LGBTQ students. We also have the traditional middle school sports. The middle school sports are a combination of sports run by Mission Oaks Parks and Rec, and also 2 sports that are run by San Juan. So we have volleyball, flag football, basketball, which are all run by Mission Oaks. And then we have the cross country team and the track team, which are run by the San Juan district. So those are the sports offerings that we have. And then I'm trying to think of other, we have this year we have a brand new period built into our school day called Flex Period. And the Flex Period is designed with 3 primary purposes. One is to be able to offer social and emotional support for our students after the last 1.5 years of COVID and distance learning. We really want to focus on their health and well-being and allowing them to socialize with their peers. It also allows us to provide additional intervention for students that are maybe falling behind or need additional help academically. And then the last one is just enrichment. And so we have club style offerings that are available during the day. Right now, our model is on Mondays and Fridays. Students have the flexibility to choose which class they want to go to. It's a 30-minute class. So we have teachers that have passions and hobbies, and they've designed classes that we think might meet the needs or the interests of students. So we have yoga, we have kickball, we have board games, we have movie club, we have Marvel Club, we have all kinds of club style offerings during our Flex Period. Flex Period happens after lunch, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Again, it's 30 minutes long. Mondays and Fridays are for those social, emotional, and enrichment opportunities. And Tuesday and Wednesday right now is a study hall intervention opportunity where students can go and take a retest, or they can go and get extra help from the teacher that they have for science or English or history. And so there's a lot of flexibility for students to get some extras during the school day, in addition to those offerings that we have after school. We have a dance team, we have a talent show, we have our student leadership class create spirit weeks, and we have in normal times we have after school dances, and we have movie nights and skate nights and all of those kinds of extracurricular offerings.
All right, next question. When is the letter essay for the student due?
I'm assuming this is a portfolio question. Is that?
That's what I was wondering too. I'm not sure.
Maybe we can get clarification on this particular question if they're asking about the portfolio or something else.
That's what it sounds like. All of the timelines are on our website. I think I've answered those in a couple other questions to put those on there, but I can throw it out there again. I'll put that link under this question for the timeline.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. The next question is asking about signing up for the tour. As I mentioned, we had to pivot because we had longer blocks of time that we normally have our tours scheduled in. And so the Sign Up Genius will hopefully be online on our website tomorrow with those blocks of time, again, between 8:30 and 11, and then 12:30 and 1:30 on November 3rd and 4th. So at this time, they are not currently open. We're working with our leadership teacher, which is Mrs. Heck. And we had to get our student tour guides lined up and kind of redesign our stations. Normally, we would welcome everyone into our library. We would have our leadership students take guests around the campus, go into some of our 6th grade classrooms. Mrs. Lewis's classroom is one of them that they would have likely visited, etc. But again, this is going to be an outside tour, just a quick lay of the land, some introductions, opportunities for Q&A for the students and to get them on our campus.
All right. Will you be offering additional tour dates?
No, November 3rd and 4th are our 2 tour dates. And that's just historically, we have many schools throughout the district are doing parent information nights and tour dates as part of the open enrollment process. We don't want to step on other toes, and so we stick with these 2 dates as our selected dates.
Right. Describe the areas of struggle and strength for students transitioning into the IB program that are not coming from Rapid Learner.
Yeah, Mrs. Lewis, I'll let you hit that one.
Yeah, sometimes the biggest thing that we will notice, and I'm not even sure I can say it's always Rapid Learner or not, but some of the areas that our students have a transition issue into middle school is they're used to having 1 or 2 teachers, regardless of their program. Coming into having 6 is going to be a little bit of a transition for all of our students. First quarter, especially in 6th grade, we spend a lot of time with organization, their binders, learning how to keep papers where they need to be kept, and also just understanding that each teacher does have slightly different policies when it comes to when can I turn a paper in late and what happens if I have a no-name paper and things of that nature. I think one thing that maybe I will notice a difference between a student coming from a Rapid Learner program versus a traditional elementary school would be they might not be as accustomed to homework. Some of our elementary schools have many hours of homework throughout the week, and then others have very little. So that might be a transition for some students. We are mindful, and I would say that some of the kind of older thoughts of you come to Churchill and you're going to have 6 hours of homework a night is just really not the case, especially for our 6th and 7th grade students. As they progress into 7th and 8th grade, they might be taking more high school courses, and then they might have more homework than they were seeing originally in 6th grade. Besides that, I would definitely say after teaching 6th grade for about a decade at our school, I don't sit there thinking, oh, that's an RL kid. That's not. Like, it's just not even part of the, I don't see a crazy difference. I just see students that sometimes have issues with organization or not, students that have maybe had a little more experience in studying for an assessment, a test, or not. And then again, the homework, I think, would be another big piece. But our students come to Churchill because they want to be here. They want that rigorous pathway. And regardless if they've been in RL or not, they all have the same intention. They want to be in a classroom with students who are excited to learn, excited to be there, and excited to work hard. So I hope that answered it to the best of, I hope that's kind of what you were going for.
Yeah, and every student is different. The level of detail, the level of organization, every student is different. And so it's really hard to pinpoint because we have some students that just labor and pour over their work that could be done quicker, probably. But again, every student, every individual is different. So it varies.
Yeah, and Mrs. Allen maybe can correct me if I'm wrong, but I know that we have, I think, typically on average over 20 schools that we feed from, maybe even more than that. So do you have that number?
I don't have an exact number right now, but we have a lot of applicants this year, and it's in district and out of district. So we are pulling from quite a few schools.
Yeah, so if you're afraid that your student is coming from a non-rapid learner program, they're going to be the only one not, that's just not really the case anymore. So
no, there's only 3 rapid learner schools.
Yeah.
And 100% of those kids don't always attend Churchill.
All right, next question.
For the math pathway placement, at what point in time do applicants know the placement results?
Mrs. Lewis, do you recall?
I had a thought, but I don't know if it's the correct thought. I felt like they got their math placement when they got their schedule. I'm not
Yeah,
sure
I believe.
if they're notified before.
Yeah, I believe that's accurate. So we have students take the standards assessment, and then the math teachers put that along with the other data points that we mentioned in our articulation cards and make a recommendation for math placement. So students will know when they pick up their schedule.
Yeah.
And we don't go over the results with the students. We don't give tests back with correct answers, incorrect answers, etc. That's just something that's not shared out with students. We can certainly have a conversation about the placement, but again, the math department collectively puts that assessment along with the other data points and makes a strong recommendation. They have many years of experience with students and know what it takes in order to have success for the year. We want students to have success. And so that's a big part of the conversation is the student going to be successful, and is this the right placement for them?
Yeah, our team spends hours and hours and hours in a classroom together looking through all of the different data pieces. So they do not take any of the decisions lightly. So just know
Right.
that they have your students' best interest in mind.
Right. All right, next question.
Is the only difference between IB Diplomat program and IB Ambassador program home zone children and out of area children?
So no, that's not the way I would characterize it. The way I would describe it is that the Diplomat program students are enrolled through the open enrollment process based on their academic scores and based on the open enrollment placement criteria for IB through the Advanced and Accelerated Programs Office. That is basically the advanced pathway at Churchill. And it's not out of area children. That is an open enrollment process that, again, is designed for families within the San Juan district that live outside of Churchill's boundary or zone. So if a family lives in another part of the district, or if they live out of the district, they have to apply through the open enrollment process to attend Churchill. And that's where the assessments and the test scores help determine that. The Ambassador program is the grade level program that is designed for students that live within Churchill's boundaries. So again, a traditional school has a school boundary. All students are going to that school within that boundary, and also has students that come to that school through an open enrollment process. Churchill's open enrollment process is different because of the advanced program that we offer. I hope that made sense. So it's not just in zone and out of zone. It's the open enrollment process that you have to qualify for the Diplomat program. Let's go through these next ones quickly. Mrs. Manchester.
Do you have a KIT drum class?
No, we do not. I know that we have a drum kit in our band room, and we have a drummer. We have a percussion section, but we do not have a class. So Mrs. Takanikos, again, talks with kids, finds out where their talents lie, and then uses them as she's able to. But we have a concert band, we have a jazz band, beginning, intermediate, and advanced band.
Okay. Is guitar an instrument that can be played in the regular band elective?
We do have a couple of bass guitarists. I know for sure. I don't know about a traditional guitar, rhythm guitar, if you will. But again, that's a question for Mrs. Takanikos. And it's based on, if she's got 10 kids and that's what they play, she's not able to accommodate that. So she's looking for the whole repertoire of musical instruments.
Okay. What can we expect in terms of homework? How many hours do students typically have homework each night?
We always get it. We still don't know how to answer. It's too hard with 6 different possible teachers and 3 different grade levels and accelerated math pathways, world languages at a high school level course. I can speak for my 6th graders. I would say they on minimum would have 30 minutes a day of homework because they'll probably always have a little something for math. Many of our assignments are week long. We understand they have extracurriculars. So typically if I'm going to assign something on a Monday, it wouldn't be due until a Friday. So they can plan out their extracurriculars. But then there's some nights where students have had 2 weeks in class to work on that project or that essay or whatever it may be, and they're still not done. And that night they might have 4 hours, but to say that's an every night occurrence, I would say that's just not the case. Mr. Givens also mentioned we now have that study hall period Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So I would say some of our students are now going home and can honestly say they don't have much homework because they use their study hall time really wisely. But again, it depends on their grade level, how many high school level courses, and their math pathway. So,
right.
And I hope that's answering it to the best of our abilities.
Yeah, there's no way to give a concrete answer on that because it's so subjective and different. How many teams are there? We went through a list of our teams. I can't give you a quantitative number, but we have again, quiz bowl, science bowl, history. Yeah. Mrs. Lewis, is the presentation that is linked on our website, right?
Yeah. And also just going to our website as a prospective family is a great idea because we have separate web pages for all of our teams. We have lots of information there. You can even see their practice schedule. If you're interested, when does a team meet? When do they practice? What's going on? Really, the website is there for you. I know sometimes our school websites are not always very informative at maybe the elementary school level. They're not used at the same level as they are in middle school and high school. So if you haven't checked out the school website, please do so. There's a lot of information. You can find out more about all the individual teams.
Yeah, so if you go to our main webpage, which is sanjuan.edu/Churchill, and click on the activities tab, you'll see quite a long list of activities there that you can surf through. It may not be 100% comprehensive because each year we have activities and teams and clubs that pop up based on our teaching staff and based on student demand as well. All right, the next question, is there a special criteria to be enrolled in band, 0 period? Yes, that is the advanced band, and that is by teacher discretion only. So again, Mrs. Takanikos interviews students, talks about their playing experience, what they play, etc. And then she oftentimes will get to hear them play and do an audition. So the 0 period is the advanced band, and that's a teacher determined enrollment, basically. 0 period starts an hour before the regular school day starts. So they start at 6:45 in the morning, which is a really bright and early class.
All right. Can you please tell us more about the foreign language requirement for diplomats? Do I understand that they are required to take high school level courses in grades 7 and 8?
Yes, that's accurate. So as part of an IB school, one of the things that is unique about our program is students in the IB program are going to be taking a world language and a visual and performing art at the same time, and basically 2 electives. And so we have level 1 and level 2 for each of the languages as a 7th grader and an 8th grader. As a 6th grader, students are going to take a world language wheel or exploration wheel, where they're going to get a trimester of each of the world languages, which is Spanish, French, and Chinese. So they're going to get to explore those languages, kind of dabble in those languages, get some exposure to those languages. As a 7th grader, then they will give us their first choice, second choice language. We have limited seats, so I always like to put it out there that you may not get your first choice. We flip-flop in the number of classes that we offer each year, because some years we have, for example, two sections of Chinese 1, and we may have 1 section of Chinese 2, which means the next year we're going to have 1 section of Chinese 1 and 2 sections of Chinese 2, because all of those students in the 2 Chinese 1 classes articulate up. So we need 2 sections of Chinese 2. So again, we have limited seats. We put the number of seats that we have on our articulation form where students are making their choices. And those are high school level courses. So they are called prerequisites. We do not give credits at the middle school level. So students are not earning high school credit, but they are earning a prerequisite. So that means that if you finish Spanish 1 as a 7th grader, you've met the criteria for Spanish 2. You can take Spanish 2 at Churchill as an 8th grader, and then you've met the prerequisite for Spanish 3 to start off as a freshman at high school. But you have to pass, I believe, with, it has to be a passing grade, obviously, in order for the prerequisite to be met. So these are high school level courses. And that's for both Chinese, French, and Spanish levels 1 and 2 in all 3 languages.
Okay, I noticed that you addressed the diversity of the student body in the video. Is there much diversity among teachers for the IB program?
So how do you answer that as a principal? I guess I could say that we love our staff. The staff, many staff members have been at Churchill for a long time. We have some staff members that have been there for over 20 years. And our staff is not as diverse as our student population. We have staff members that are from other parts of the world. Mrs. Antler, for example, actually, I shouldn't spill the beans and say where she's from, because that's a fun game that I know she likes to play with her students. But we have teachers that are from different parts of the country. We have teachers that are different nationalities, but it is not reflective of our total student body, for sure. So, and again, that's not something that we get to handpick. Our teachers come to us at different times throughout the school's history and throughout their careers. And so when we have needs, we certainly look at our diversity as an important qualification for teaching at Churchill, but we're honestly looking for amazing teachers that can be engaging and rigorous and have great relationships with our kids and are passionate about what they do.
All right, do you have any sports teams?
Yes, we already answered that one. So yes, we have sports teams, again, cross country and track through the school district, flag football, volleyball, and basketball through the Parks and Rec district.
All right, where can I get the math flow chart online for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade?
I believe it's a few different places on our website. One of the easiest places to access it might be to go to the main website, click on the Churchill News. It's towards the bottom of the website. There is a Churchill News item for the IB Diplomat Information Night, and that's where you can find the recording of the presentation where we talk about all of the slides in the keynote, but there's also a PDF of that presentation. So that might be your best place to go ahead and find that flow chart. I know it's in both of those locations.
Can you talk about your library and access to it?
Yeah, so the library is centrally located. It's the heart of our campus. Mrs. Holly Auer is our new librarian. She was formerly an instructional assistant at our school, very familiar with our student body and our campus, and is taking great pride in bringing new resources to our library. It is open for a short time before school starts. It is open during lunch, both lunches, and it is open for a short time after school dismisses as well. So teachers reserve the library to have students access to the resources. They use it as research area. And again, we're trying to grow the resources in our library to meet the needs of our students. So before school, during lunches, and after school, as well as during the day when teachers need to send a student to the library, or a group of students to the library, or even take their whole class to the library. So we really want the library to be accessible as much as possible.
For sixth grade entry, what will be tested, test scoring, etc.? Could you please detail out?
So I don't think we really can detail out. It's a standards-based test. I would say that it mirrors closely what a student would be exposed to in the CASP test. So it's a standardized test. I know Mrs. Allen.
And remember, it's a fourth grade standards-based test if you are trying to apply for the sixth grade program. So again, you're not going to be tested on material that you haven't had access to. I think we already addressed the question earlier. We are recording the session and everything will get posted on our website. So if for any reason you missed any of the questions or didn't quite hear the full answer, you will be able to go back and rewatch the program.
I can just briefly go over again that it's short answer, multiple choice. There are reading passages. It's very close to CASP. When people call our office, we've been saying, if you want to practice, do some CASP practice tests. It's very similar, but you are doing the year before, the year prior. So if you're testing in for sixth grade, use the end of fourth grade test. If you're testing for seventh grade, use the end of fifth grade test.
And I would also say, just to answer the question before it gets asked, we do not provide a study guide. There is no study guide. There's no practice tests. As Mrs. Allen said, if you want to practice, go and look at some of those or publicly released CASP style tests that are out on the web or on the CDU website.
All right.
Okay. I know IB is a rigorous program and I'm hoping to support my student in finding balance in and out of school. Can you share an idea around how many hours of homework a typical sixth grader would have each night? I think we addressed that.
Yeah.
We're focused on balance, and just to know that, I mean, I have very few students that do not have an extracurricular activity, whether it's an on-campus sports team, an on-campus academic team, private music lessons, Mandarin. I mean, we just have students that are in so many different things outside of school, and they're still able to find that balance. So I think that you need to be assured that that can also happen for your student.
And I would add one more thing, and sometimes I characterize it, and this may not be 100% accurate, but students really, for the most part in our IB Diplomat program, have an absolute passion for learning. They love going to school. They love learning new things. They love independently researching. The idea of discovery, the idea of inquiry, is just something that many students are passionate about. So if you're a parent and you're pushing your child and they're resistant to that kind of excitement about learning, it might not be the best program, because again, it really has to come intrinsically from the student. And that's where we find that students are having the most success, is when they're excited about it.
Okay. I have a non-binary child. Does the LGBTQ club have more people like them?
Yes, absolutely. And we try to help students. Again, we are a middle school. We are a school with 11, 12, 13-year-old kids whose minds are still developing, who have all of the stereotypical interactions with each other. And so we're trying to help create good citizens. We're trying to help create children who are kind to each other, but we know that they're not always. And so we try to create environments where they can learn about the differences, the similarities, commonalities, and the LGBTQ Pride Pack that we have supports that. And so, yes, there are other children that they would be able to connect with, whether they're the same or whether they're just open to a variety of friendships and very accepting. We absolutely see that and have that.
When Mrs. Hollenbeck started our Pride Pack this year, she had room for just over 20 students, and there was such a demand. She helped recruit other teachers. So Mrs. Manchester and myself are both a part of that. So we have over 80 students right now interested in our Pride Pack. So there's definitely other students that will be able to be there and support.
Mm-hmm. And then in addition to that, we have a program called IYT, which stands for Improve Your Tomorrow, which supports boys specifically of color. And it's a college readiness program and a mentoring program and a tutoring program. We have a BSU, which stands for Black Student Union. Mrs. Walsham is one of our teachers. She's an African-American woman, and she is the leader of our Black Student Union. Again, so we have a variety of clubs and extracurriculars and during the day options for students to plug in with things that they're passionate about or feel connected to. And all of these clubs, LGBTQ, the BSU, they're open to anybody. There's no entry criteria. If you want to be part of it, you can.
Will there be science camp for 6th graders this year?
We don't know. We don't know. The district is sending updates about the COVID safety plans and some of the criteria that we have to follow. It's really, really challenging in the current environment. We have camps that we have to make reservations with. We have fundraising and fees that have to be paid. And then we have all of the COVID safety requirements. At this point, we're just now learning that some of the restrictions on parent volunteers are being lifted. These trips are really hard without parent volunteers. We have a massive shortage of substitute teachers in the district that makes taking teachers off campus very, very challenging. So at this point, the answer is we don't know. I just talked to Mr. Hansen today about it because we heard from one of our camps and they're asking if we're going to move forward with it. I know Mrs. Lewis is involved in planning for our camps as well. And right now the answer is just, we don't know. In a normal year, absolutely yes.
We would be there right now.
Right.
Normal year.
Mission Springs was supposed to be this week.
Yeah.
Basic bell schedule. Do they have 6 classes a day and those same classes for the whole year? Or do classes complete mid-year and they choose new classes? How long is each class?
All right, so this is kind of a complicated question. I think we're going to attack it with three different answers. So for our IB Diplomat program, as an IB school, because students are required to take a world language and a visual and performing art, we basically have seven subjects that we need to squeeze into a 6-period day. So Churchill has a very unique model. For the 6th graders, they are going to be taking a English class, history class, math, and science. They're going to be taking a PE class, and they're also going to be taking a world language exploration wheel where they get a trimester of each of the 3 languages. That means that they're going to be rotating between those classes on a trimester schedule, but we actually operate on a quarter schedule. So they move on a different schedule than everything else. And then the last one is their visual and performing art, which would be art class or band class, drama, basically art and music are the 2 options. So again, that's 7 classes in a 6-period day. The way we make it work is students are going to do a quarter on, quarter off rotation between PE and their visual and performing art. So students are going to have, a group of students are going to have PE for the first quarter, and then the second quarter, they'll switch into their visual and performing art, 3rd quarter back into PE, 4th quarter back into visual and performing art. So that's the way that we fit those 7 courses into the 6-period day. School starts right now at 7:55, although we know for sure next year we're going to be starting at 8 o'clock. We are going to be moving to the new state guideline where it says all middle schools must start at 8 o'clock in the morning and all high schools have to start at 8:30. So the district is following that mandate. So Churchill, it's not board adopted or set in stone yet, but I'm pretty certain that we're going to be starting at 8 o'clock in the morning and we'll be finishing at 2:45 in the afternoon. Again, 6 periods. We have a 30-minute lunch, 4 minutes passing period between each class, and each class is approximately, is it 50?
Maybe
55, 53. Yeah, let's just say 55. Let's use a round number and call it 55 minutes. So that's, hopefully that answers all of that question.
Okay. Are sixth graders separated from 7th, 8th graders, considering they may be behind maturity wise? General question about the middle school, not necessarily IB specific.
Yeah, so we have grade level classes for English and history and science. And we have mixed classes for math because it's by math ability. We have combination classes in PE, although most of them are grade level. But we do have some teachers that during like a 3rd period, they would have 6th and 7th graders together, typically not 6th and 8th graders together, but they would have another PE class during that same period that may be all 8th graders. So they would be commingling. They commingle before school, they commingle after school, they commingle at lunch, they commingle in the hallways. So we have grade level specific classes, but we do not have a 6th grade section of the school or a 7th grade section or an 8th grade section because of the electives and because of the way our school is designed. We have many of our 6th grade teachers are in a specific kind of area up near the front of the school, but it's not pure by any means. So we know that there's a pretty large maturity gap between a 6th grader and an 8th grader, but we also know that they went to elementary school and had kinders up to 5th or 6th graders on the same campus too. So it's an important time in their life with regard to maturity and developing physically, and their brains are developing still, but we try to shelter them to some degree, but it's certainly not 100%.
And I think if you're on the fence, I always say this at all the information nights and all the articulation nights. If you're on the fence, I do always suggest sending your student in 6th grade because that is the year where every single teacher knows it is your first year in middle school. It is your first year on campus. Once you get into 7th grade, there's going to be just a little bit less of those types of supports and transitions because most of the students have already been on campus for a year. So we are a 3-year program for the middle years program. We are a 3-year middle school. And if you are able to come and join our school at 6th grade, I always suggest it, not just because I'm a 6th grade teacher, but we practice what we preach. So.
Yeah, and one other thing I think it's a good time to mention that we know that there's a lot of anxiety and worry about transitioning from an elementary school to a middle school. What I will tell you is that we want to make that transition smooth and we want to reduce the anxiety. So we're really excited about a brand new program that we started this year. It's called WEB. It's the same program that they have at the high school that's known as Link Crew. It is a 6th grade orientation welcome program. We find 8th grade mentors that just are good, kind-hearted kids and want good things for the new students that are coming into our school. We do a training for those 8th grade students over the summer. We connect them with small groups of incoming 6th graders. We do an event before school starts where there's small groups of about 10 6th graders that get connected to 1 or 2 8th grade mentors so that they first of all, get to know a small group of 6th graders that they can feel a connection with. And then they have veteran middle schoolers that are going to be there for them for answering questions, helping guide them, giving campus tours. And then we have connecting events throughout the year where we reconnect those same groups and just help continue to make sure that they have somebody to talk to. And it just eliminates a lot of anxiety. So it's called WEB. It stands for Welcome Every Bulldog. And again, we started it this year. We have 3 coordinators on campus. Mrs. Hartwell and is an 8th grade English and history teacher. We have Miss Hollenbeck, who is a 7th grade science teacher. And then we have Mrs. Takanikos, who's our band and choir teacher. So the 3 of them have done an amazing job. It's a formalized program. They do a lot of games and connecting events. And we think it's really changed kind of the dynamic of the start of the school year for our Sixers.
All right. Do you have an after-school program?
So there is an after-school program. It's called Bridges. It is not run by Churchill. It is run by the Bridges after-school program, which is under the San Juan umbrella. There is an application process. There is a fee. It has a wait list at this time. I think they have a capacity of about 60 students. And it runs from right after school until about 6 o'clock, virtually every day that school is in session. So it's called Bridges. And again, if you go to the San Juan website, you can look up the Bridges program and find out more information.
But again, that's 60 seats, and we average anywhere from 900 to 1,000 students. So it's not going to be an option for everyone. It says the next question is, do all IB students take a foreign language in 6th grade? And that is that language exploration wheel that Mr. Givens was speaking to before. So as 6th graders, they're going to come in and they're going to get to experience a trimester of French, a trimester of Spanish, and a trimester of Mandarin. At the end of their 6th grade year, they will then have a little bit of background information about the culture, the language, the teachers, what they can expect, so that when they go to sign up for their courses for 7th grade and make that commitment to the language, they will have a little bit of background information and experience. So all 6th grade diplomats will be a part of that 3 trimester wheel.
For the other days without club activities, do the students use after school care, and what do they do during after school care?
So that's the Bridges program that we were speaking to. Bridges has homework time, they have snack, they have outdoor activity time.
Yeah, and I would say, other than that, if a student has a club or an activity that they're doing after school, then they're going to be with a coach or with a teacher advisor. Other than that, we are asking students to leave campus no later than 15 minutes after school dismissal. We don't have the capacity to supervise students for long periods of time. We really want them to get on with their day, whether that's a carpool or walking home, riding home, or getting picked up by a family member. But if they're not engaged in an activity, yeah, we really ask them to get off campus. That doesn't sound very nice. We ask them to leave school and get home within 15 minutes of the school dismissal. Because again, we are the largest middle school in the district with traditionally approximately 1,000 students. Right now we're between 900 and 1,000 students. And so it's a very busy campus. We always talk about how we kind of feel like a small high school in the activities and the busyness of our campus.
The next 2 questions are both asking about singing classes and choir. Yes, we do have choir available as one of the visual and performing arts electives. All right.
My student is currently enrolled at Thomas Edison Language Institute and is bilingual in Spanish. Do you offer advanced Spanish or for heritage speakers, or do you recommend bilingual Spanish-English students begin a new language?
Yeah, we've had this question a number of times from our Edison families, and the answer is no. We don't offer the same sort of bilingual program. We don't offer advanced Spanish for heritage speakers. So by advanced Spanish for heritage speakers, I guess what I should clarify is that we don't offer Spanish 1 for our 6th graders who then would go into a Spanish 2 and then would switch a language. So we have our program. And so I would recommend that, again, a heritage speaker for someone that's speaking Spanish, they would go into the exploration world language wheel. They would get exposure to French and Chinese, and they would also have the exposure to Spanish. They will likely learn something and get the cultural exploration as well. And then they would make a decision. So if they're already a native speaker and are fluent in Spanish, I would recommend that they choose another language as a 7th and 8th grader.
Okay. How do you manage bullying when it is reported?
Well, probably like most other schools, we have 2 full-time counselors, Mrs. Link and Miss Brown, and we have a half-time social worker, Miss Yesenia. And we say, if you see something, say something. We ask our students to go to a trusted adult, someone that they have a connection with, they can speak freely to, and let them know what the concern is, what the problem is. And then the teachers will help determine if they need sort of a higher level of intervention. And our counselors do conflict mediation. We help with self-esteem, anxiety, but specifically with bullying, you know, we ask the questions. Is this something that just happened today? Is this an ongoing and consistent problem? Is there a previous relationship? Do you know this person from elementary school? Has this something that's been going on? So we try to get to know the students. We try to find out what the root of the problem is. And then where we can, we try to do conflict mediation, and we basically ask for students to continue to let us know after we think we've solved the problem. We give permission for both parties or multiple parties to come back and report if there's continuing to be an issue or concern. And we try our best to loop families in and to make sure that we're communicating back with them, so that if they go home and they let their parents know about something that's going on, that we can continue to work on it. So it's an ongoing process. Again, middle school can be challenging because students are still just figuring out how to interact with their peers. And sometimes we get more of the playground interaction, which can be play fighting, roughhousing, that kind of thing. We're seeing a lot of that right now, to be honest with you, just because of COVID, a lot of pent up energy, a lot of socialization skills that have kind of fallen away. And so we're dealing with kids that are friends most of the time, that all of a sudden have some sort of conflict, and we're kind of helping them work through how to solve that conflict in an appropriate way.
Is there elective?
Yeah, so we have, again, we have the multiple levels of music, including choir and beginning band, intermediate band, advanced band, jazz band. We have the beginning art, intermediate art, advanced art. For our other grade levels, we start to get into more options. Again, world language is part of that automatically for the IB Diplomat program. We have a leadership class. We have a BTV class, which is a video production class. They make our morning announcements. We have a technology class offering where Mr. Billingsley, who is also our BTV producer, really focuses on coding and getting into programming. And we have trying to think of some of our other options. Help me, Mrs. Lewis or Mrs. Manchester.
I think you kind of nailed it. And I mean,
think
yeah, the world language is a piece that sometimes, you know, other schools would call the elective. For us,
Yeah.
it is a requirement, but
Right.
it's all part of those electives, as well as PE. Again, sometimes can be grouped into the elective umbrella.
Right. All right. We're getting to the end here.
Okay. Is there any limit how many after-school programs students can enroll? Also, will they be able to try some of the after-school before they decided to change to other activities?
Depends on the team. If it's a tryout sort of situation, there's normally information meetings for all of these teams, and they're letting you know the commitment, what it's going to look like. But there's not really a trial period, especially if you're going for a team with tryouts. Same with the sports. You're going to sign up for a sport. There's, you know, it's pretty traditional. If if you're doing those types of after school activities. And again, we spoke earlier on some academic teams after school will allow you to participate in more than one academic team if there's not a conflict in competitions in their practice schedules. But it's very challenging if you're on a sports team that has practice after school Monday, Wednesday, and that academic team meets every Wednesday. So students will have to choose, and there's only so many days when those events are happening. So that.
What if a student is already proficient to ACTFL standards? Can they be exempt from the world language subject?
So full transparency, I don't know what ACTFL is, but there is no exemption from the world language subject at Churchill. We do not, that's not part of our IB Diplomat program. We are, I don't know that we've mentioned our connection to Mira Loma, but I'll go ahead and do that really quickly. So we are what's called the Middle Years Program. And the Middle Years Program is a 5-year program. Churchill holds the first 3 years, and Mira Loma holds the last 2 years. So students will continue in the Middle Years Program if they choose to go to Mira Loma in the IB program there to finish off year 4 and 5 of the Middle Years Program. So the world language offering is part of that. And so, no, we don't have a schedule that we can build for a student that would exempt them for world language. And I'd love to know what ACTFL is. I can Google it later, but I'm not familiar with that.
Okay. And then, can the students take a language other than Spanish, Mandarin, or French? Or can they get credit if it is taken outside the school?
No, so I guess the best way I can answer that is, as a middle school, we don't offer credits. So we're not a credit-based system. So at the high school level, a student takes a course and they earn 5 credits, for example. We don't have a credit system. When you promote out of Churchill, out of a middle school environment, you go to high school with 0 credits. So we don't have the ability to have students take languages other than Spanish, Mandarin, and French and get credit per se. So no, that's not, again, as a public school, and being that we are an IB school, we follow the IB program, and we don't really get outside of the lane in that way.
And I think that's the second question, as well as just clarifying the first one.
Right, right.
Okay, and this one is a follow-up. Thank you for your answer about diversity. Given the importance of like representation for parents seeking student-staff role model connections, roughly how discrepant are the diversities between the student body and staff in percentages? Are there any groups without staff representation? Are there any groups that have stronger, more than single staff member representation, or larger student cohorts where they can expect a niche of like me's?
Yeah, I really, I mean, you can look up our school accountability report card that I think has some more of the demographic information about staff and students, et cetera. Do we have groups with staff representation, like stronger more than single staff member? You know, I would say, again, it changes because we never know year to year who we're going to hire. We have, I think, 4 African-American staff members. We have Caucasian staff members. We have males and females. And again, I'm not intimately aware of all of the origins, the nationalities that our staff come from, but we certainly have some missing pieces of diversity in our staff, where there are nationalities and ethnic groups that are not represented on our staff, for sure. So I would definitely say that we are predominantly white, and that, but again, there are a variety of staff members that that are from other countries or from other ethnic groups other than just white Caucasians. But yeah, we definitely do not have the same level of diversity that our student body represents.
And I don't see any more new questions.
All right. Well, I hope that you can hear in our answers we've tried to be very authentic and real and give you the way that our school operates in its current model. And we look forward to certainly entertaining additional questions. Again, Mrs. Allen has been great. Thank you for offering your information and providing the email address again. So Mrs. Allen, it's accelerated@sanjuan.edu.
Yeah, I answered a lot of the questions, and I was trying to help
Yes.
Kristen out by answering the questions that we'd already repeated. So it is, if you look in the answered Q&As, there's a lot of the websites that I posted in there for specific things, pathways, applications, and then also our email address is in there, accelerated@sanjuan.edu.
Perfect. And then again, for Churchill, my entire front office will get information if you send the question to churchillfrontoffice@sanjuan.edu. And again, they will forward that to Mrs. Lewis, Mrs. Manchester, Mrs. Sliwa, myself. If we don't know the answer, we'll forward it on to Mrs. Allen in her office and seek out the information for you. Again, a reminder, our student visitation days are Wednesday, November 3rd, Thursday, November 4th. We're going to be putting up a Sign Up Genius on our website. I hope to have that up there by the end of day tomorrow. We're going to have short, basic 20-minute blocks of sign up between 8:30 and 11 and 12:30 and 1:30. Again, just an opportunity to get students on campus, and it will be an outdoor tour to kind of answer some questions, give them the lay of the land, have them meet some of our leadership students and some of our staff members, and walk through the campus. And then we'll go ahead and check them out. We know it's during the regular school day. We will have a piece of paper to provide for you to show that you were touring our campus, to give back to your school when you return, so that there's no attendance issues for them while they're visiting our school. So that's something that we do as well. And again, thank you all so much for coming tonight. We appreciate you looking at our school. We're very, very proud of our offerings. We know that it is not for everybody and that everybody's student has different needs. We respect that and we appreciate it. So we're here for you if you have any more questions. We hope that you all have a great night and that everyone is safe and healthy. So thanks for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and end it. Good night, everybody.
Good night.